Kingsley, it was a time for amassing land and wealth. For enslaved Africans to produce the wealth, it was time of dehumanizing and brutal life, of course, but also extraordinary strength, perseverance, and faith all played a significant role in what happened here during that time in our history. You see that? Look at this. The people who worked, cried, dreamed, played, and died here left with evidence of their lives. Preserving this heritage, building and landscaping is everyone's responsibility. The historic structures and nature's resources are fragile and replaceable. Handprints can permanently damage the delicate tabby walls of the slave cabins, and misplaced footsteps can destroy wild animals' home. Take care as you explore this special place. The exploitation of enslaved people differed through the Americas. However, the bottom line was profit for the owner, while for the slave, it was loss of freedom. Slaves were possessions. They were viewed as a valuable commodity to be bought and sold and forced to work. Their owners determined what they did and how they were treated for their entire life. We are therefore to look for laborers to that intrinsically valued caste of people called Negro slaves, whose productive labor and cheerful obedience has in all cases been measured by the justice and equal treatment of their master. Zephaniah Kingsley said that. I don't believe that. If they were working in harsh conditions, that means they were not treated right by their masters. I don't believe that. A slave is the property of another political and socially at a lower level than the mass of the people and perform compulsory labor. Now, we here at this plantation farm, you don't see one black family. Not one. Just to let you know. So far, we haven't seen one black family here, but this is the slave church, I believe. And I want to show you the inside of it. A lot of memories. Let's be a slave today. Wow, I can see my people singing in here. Take these shackles off my feet so I can pray. I just want to praise you. I just want to praise you. Wow. I don't even know what this is. What is this? That's crazy. Plow. Please do not climb. This is a plow. Now let me see. What is that? It's property. This is an amazing feeling. Because now the world should know how our people were treated and lived in harsh environments for the wealth of the white man. Forced labor, but they were treated so-called good. The promise of great. You see all that we've been through, and we're here now, free. No chains, nobody to tell us what to do, force us into working, in harsh conditioned environment. I mean, we still are the slave to the government, but now people don't have to live this way anymore, picking cotton, brutalized, probably raped. My family left the South and moved to the East Coast. So I'm so blessed that we left this type of environment. Planters to focus on a single crop. To do this required land, seed, and a force of enslaved men, women, and children. Men, women, and children. Cash crop provided wealth for a plantation owner, but meant a life of bondage for those who worked to create it. The main cash crop at this plantation was Sea Island cotton. It required long hours of back-breaking work preparing the ground, planters, and harvesting. For planters, cotton meant wealth that led to influential positions in society. That's how the rich got richer and richer and richer over the generations. Anyways, for planters, cotton meant wealth that led to influential positions in society, the ability to purchase fine English china, and the opportunity to escape the hot summer months by traveling to Europe. For slaves, cotton meant day after day after day of the same work, year in and year out in stifling heat. That's why we're so black. That's a joke. Okay, I became weak and emancipated, and frequently so dizzy that it caused me to reel and stagger like a drunken man. Nevertheless, I was compelled to keep up my road. That was from a slave who said that. Named Solomon Northrops, and that's probably wasn't his real name. That's probably his slave given name. Okay. Look at that. So on Sea Island, plantation slaves were field hand carpenters, blacksmiths, and cooks. Such skills were highly valued at the slave market and exploited at the plantation. We saw signs that shows about hardworking men just because of the way they look, and like they'll be great for carpentry or whatever you want them to have. Because they have back in the day posters of slaves being sold for because they look able-bodied, strong, and they exploited that so plantation owners will buy it, and so they will cost more also. Anyways, just about everything the plantation needed had to be produced on this island. Field hands grew food for the plantation. See, we did a lot. We did a lot to feed America. America, and to keep these people warm. After we were snatched from our country of Africa, even Africa sold their own people to slaves. But let me go ahead. Field hands grew food for the plantation, carpenters, construction and repair, building, blacksmiths made nails, cutting tools, and other hardware. Knowledge of planting, harvest, and preparation of Sea Island's cotton for market was key to plantation success. Wow, these are the names and how they sold the slaves. Zephaniah Kingsley invented his slaves according to skills and values. Let me see. This is highly skilled slaves were valuable property. See, this is one of the posters right here on how they sold the slaves. Let's go.
Where?
But this is a nice memory right here. This church. This is like, or maybe this was in the church. Maybe this was where they sold the slaves. I didn't see this right here. How do you make sugar? This tells you how to make sugar. That's how you make sugar. And we make sugar. We even make sugar. No wonder we drink Kool-Aid. Just joking. This guy, they recognize him. They praise him so much. They talk about all that he does. But I'm pretty sure he wasn't the greatest man ever. I mean, come on. They say he was a trader of goods and people, merchant ships, owner, planter, and landowner. In Spanish Florida, there were legal protection for people of African descent, enslaved and free. That changed when Florida became a territory of the United States in 1821. Wow, that's crazy. So blacks were protected at first until 1821. They should at least say African American. Look, Harriet Tubman and this man was whipped. This was the worst whipping there was. And he showed his back to show how they were beaten. Beaten. That's where the word cracker came from, cracking on their skin. Thank goodness. I have 3 beautiful mixed sons, and I love them very much. And they can learn about this history from this video of their black side and their white side. Seed Island cotton plantation was port according to the taxation, and this is their task: hoeing, picking, ginning, splitting rows, squaring timber, ditching, listing, making beds, and furrowing. He starts building, and people verify today a slave owner's family sits watching from the port of their comfortable home as cargo-laden boats pass by on the river. Breezes of the water cool the planter's family smell of fresh baked bread wafted from the kitchen. Houseslaves carry the evening meals to the planter's home. High up on the widow's walk, the owners keep a watchful eye on his slave as they hustle across the kitchen yard. Just remember that these are the same steps slaves took. Come here. Through the window.
Show through the window.
I believe this was where the kitchen was.
This.
Okay, so I'm pretty sure the slaves may or may not have. It could have been built after. Walk through here to get to the master's headquarters, which we are about to step into now. I'm not sure we can go inside, but we can try to get the inside footage. Nope. Okay. And yeah, it has renovations through the years. The building before you was constructed in 1798, making it the oldest still standing plantation house in the state of Florida. Over the years, the house has faced many threats. Fire, hurricanes, termites, structural changes, and neglect all made the home vulnerable. In order to preserve as much of the original structure as possible for as long as possible, visitors' access is limited. That's too bad. Why was destroyed something that's history? This is where the making of a plantation started. The owner came and saw this place and turned it into his own and made a lot of money off of this home. And we should be able to access it and see it. But unfortunately, people want to destroy history. And I love history. I love that we get to see this. I'm blessed to be here today. Okay. Now, in 1798, John McQueen made the northwest portion of Fort George Island his home. You see that? John McQueen made this his home. The house was built with comfort in mind. Each of the rooms were using windows and fireplace to capture the breezes coming off the Atlantic Ocean. Wow, each room had a fireplace. The house at the north end will be in course of a month a very comfortable habitation, and in any other country a handsome situation, you will come and see it shortly, I suppose. I guess that's what he said. John McQueen Jr. to Eliza Ann McQueen, letter, March 1798, from Fort George Island. Woo. Anyways, that was a letter, he said. Not much is mentioned about the house again until the Patriots' War in 1812. On the Fort George Island plantation, the invaders during the Patriots' War 1812 to 1813 burned every building except the dwelling house, and they stripped the dwelling house to the extent of taking all the locks from the doors. From the East Florida claims case of John H. McIntosh. Planter's House, circa 1886. That's after they rebuilt it, and this is before they destroyed it. They tried to destroy it. And we're gonna show a close backup of this later after we decide. Look at the fireplace. Wow, a lot of memories there. Too bad you can't see it up close and touch. This one is might be the living room. Maybe we can get close-ups on the other spots of this house when we go around.
Oh, okay. So that's what it looks like. I can see. Go.
This is the back of the house, probably where the slave would enter if they were allowed entry into the master's house. But this is the back of the house. Same look. I like how the colonial style house is lit though. Very nice. Oh wow, I see the stairs in here. Wow. I wish I could walk that staircase to see the upstairs. Unfortunately, we don't get that luxury because it's out. Alright, let's see.
Oh.
This is where the slaves probably ran around, washed clothes probably. Probably took a bath down here. We're not sure. There's a trail leading to down there. I'm not sure if this water was here back in the 1800s, but if it was, you can only guess to assume that this is probably where they washed or use water to cook and to clean. This might be the kitchen. I'm not really too sure. When I look in here, there's a table, a basket on the table, a whole bunch of barrels, napkins. Let's go on the other stuff.
I can't see it.
Making indigo, starting from down here, I think. And they use the indigo to dye for fashion, I guess. And sustain. Okay, so I guess this is where they planted. Wow, this is a small little garden. But this is where they were forced to plant by the master. This is how the cotton plant looks. This is how the cotton plant looks that we picked. Potatoes were a staple of the plantation life. Indigo was an important cash crop, but very labor intense. Slaves processed the leaves and stem, eventually producing a deep blue dye. Behind the men, cakes of indigo dye were sold and shipped up north and overseas, bringing wealth to the owner. Seasonal, this interpretive garden displayed many of the crops grown during Florida plantation period. Okra, African its origin, followed the slave trade to this side of the Atlantic Ocean, commonly grown in plantation garden plots. It was used in a variety of dishes, including gumbo. Ooh. Okra continues to be a part of American culture. I love okra. Sugarcane was processed into cane syrup, molasses, and brown sugar. It was both consumed here and grown for profit. Okay, this one has an audio plate.
No. Yeah. That's how you have the phone, through the phone.
Oh, okay. Many crops were grown on the plantation, but Sea Island cotton produced the highest profit growing and processed. It required a complex structure. And the tie system was used to manage the many specialized requirements of Sea Island cotton production. Often ties were measured out in quarters, acres, increment. Each slave was assigned to a task to plow, plant, pick, or gin cotton. Once tasks were done, just so you know, the cotton gin was created by a slave. Just so y'all know that the real inventor of the cotton gin was by a slave man, and that his master took his invention and sold it as his own. People don't know that. Okay. Once tasks were done, slaves used the rest of the day to tend to personal needs, including growing their own food. They had to grow their own food. Okay. After they grow food for their masters, they have to grow their own food. To see how big a quarter acre is, look at the area defined by 4 posts. See, there they were. My ancestors. This is the cotton task. Planted, hoeing, picking, ginning. Preparing the land for cotton crops at which are busy. February 1st. March 6th. Commence planting cotton and keeping it at it. April 29th. We begin to thin the cotton, which looks very well, and all the planting seasons having now passed. Everything is devoted to cultivating. May 31st. The cotton is quite forward and now begins to blossom. June 1st. Still busy at work at the cotton, and it will now be constant work to the end of the year. Wow. July 31st, began to pick a little cotton. August 31st, we now have all hands picking cottons, and during this month have gathered nearly 3,000 pounds in the seed. October 2nd, there is quite a strong NE wind, but we commenced to gin today. November 1st, the operations on the plantation have been those usually at the time of the year, picking, sorting, and ginning of cotton, packing cotton, and preparing land for another year. Kingsley Betty Gibbs Journal, 1840. Keeping track of all the cotton that we use. Remember, this is the farm. They would grow the garden over there. The master's quarters is those 2 houses right there. I believe this was either the church or where they sold the slaves at sometimes. I'm not sure. It doesn't really tell us. But we can safe to assume. And I'm not sure what that is over there. We can look. Right here, this is a field. I'm pretty sure that the slaves walked this field plenty of years ago. So we're walking in their footsteps right now. We're on our way to a slave quarter and a trail. So let's see what's going down. Okay, so now we are entering the slave quarters. There's more down that we shall see, but these are the first ones that we come across. So this is where the slaves were. I'm pretty sure this was their fireplace. So this is the fireplace. This had to be the kitchen. You can't begin to guess how many slaves were probably housed in this one little space. Probably 20 slaves at most. I've read on the website. This is probably one of the rooms. See if there's any names carved in here. Definitely home to critters now. This has to be a room. This one actually has the roof still on it. Fireplace. Bedroom. This was where the slaves slept. You see this conditions, this environment? How could anybody live in here and cook in here? And they probably had 10 slaves in this one room. Look, someone got their initial. It might be new though, because it says 2019 probably. So this must be the original structure of how the slave home must have looked, with the actual roof and the windows still attached and stuff. So let's go in. The entryway into, which is, look. This one was actually a little bit bigger. This had to have been something else. Maybe this was a meeting room or something. But we will see over there, it tells us. And then this is a fireplace. A lot of history. A lot of history behind this, y'all. A lot of history. Oh, okay, so this is just a piece of art. Okay, so constructed nearly 200 years ago, these cabins were home to enslaved people. Following emancipation, former slaves lived here and worked the land. Slowly, individuals and families moved away, leaving the buildings to fall into ruins. Tabby was a labor-intensive concrete made from oyster shells and water. Tabby was poured into forms layer by layer until it became the building in front of you. So it was made of tabby and oyster shells and water. Posts and ties, hood tops of shutters together. Third course, second course, first course. So this is how they make it. Window. The cabin ruins are connected to the hundreds of enslaved men, women, and children who lived here. The National Park Service has preserved these unique symbols of American history. Help us by touching the tabby as you walk through these ruins. Please touch this piece of cabins. Voices from the past. The slaves' quarters were a place to find identity and strength through family, faith, and shared experience. Many American traditions originated from the daily activities and beliefs of enslaved people. We still practice it. Practicing the survivor today, revolving around cooking, singing, dancing, worshiping, and healing. While daily work was individually focused, life in the slave quarters revolved around family and community. That's when we were all together. Now, us African Americans, we are trying to kill each other instead of coming together like our ancestors did, because we were under a harsh environment. So instead of fighting with each other, we work together. We don't see that anymore. 2021, you don't see us working together. You see us stabbing each other in the back. I'm sorry to say this about our culture, but that's what we do now. Resistance. Slaves actively resist bondage by purposefully slowing down their work pace, faking illness, or even mutilating themselves in order to lessen their value as human property. Resisting the inhumanity of their enslaved conditions, slaves struggle to maintain a family life. Some African cultural traditions include using song and code to relay hidden messages. This tradition was sometimes used by slaves in their effort to secretly pass on information and plan escapes. What would you do to resist slavery? Some slaves conceal their thoughts and feelings from their owners. Slaves prepare for freedom by learning to write and acquire as many skills as possible. Few maintain to organize revolt or escape bondages. Strength to survive. In front of you, you are the remain of 25 cabinets, the home of 60 to 80 men, women, and children. These people have the strength to survive the misery of slavery. Before dawn, the slaves left for their day labor or to use their special skills. They returned physically exhausted and hungry, drained by the unrelenting drudgery. At the end of the day, their strength came from family, faith, and traditions. And these are the slaves that lived in these ruins. Alas, had it not been for my beloved violin, I scarcely can conceive how I could have endured the long years of bondage. It was my companion, the friend of my bosom, triumphed loudly when I was joyful, was sad. Often at midnight, when sleep has fled affright from the cabin and my soul was disturbed and troubled with the contempt of fate, it would sing me a song of peace. The same slave wrote that. Growing up a slave. From the earliest age, children were trained to do their parents' work. They were terrified of the punishment of their parents' enduring. Parents taught their enslaved children strict obedience so they could survive, and yet, like children today, they still found time to play. Aww. To a cabin in a woodland, dear, you've come a mammy heart to cheer in this old slave cabin. Your heartstrings gabbing. Yes, lay your hand upon my breast and snuggle close and rest, my little colored child. Your daddy plows the old massing corn, your mammy does the cooking. She'll give dinner to a hungry child when nobody is a-looking. Don't be ashamed, my child, I beg, because you was hatched from a buzzard egg, my little colored child. That was written by an anonymous slave. So glad when the sun goes down. When the sun goes down. Be so glad when the sun goes down. When the sun goes down.
let's leave it, but I wanna lie down. But I wanna lie down. Let's leave it, but I wanna lie down. I wanna lie down. I wanna lie down. I wanna lie down. I ain't gonna let's leave it, but I wanna lie down. Oh, what got the matter, baby? Yeah, I can't see. Oh, what got the matter, baby? Yeah, I can't see. No, the sergeant and the driver go down on me. No, the sergeant and the driver go down on me. Just chop your corner, chop mine. Just chop your corner, like I chop mine.